last year was the first time you brought in a transfer class of that size. How much did that experience help you navigate the portal this time around?
Yeah, great question. I think, one, the landscape changing kind of dictates the number and the size of the class. As I said before, with that last class, they made me a believer in terms of, okay, this can be done. Because there was some apprehension, at first, because you're like, man, it's so different than how you were trained in this business to build a roster. And at that time, you brought in 54 new guys, and it's like, man, that's almost half your team. But they were able to prove, that it can be done. And so the key for us going into this cycle was making sure that we understood how we were able to do it and what it takes to be successful and try to replicate, that formula as best we can, considering that, the landscape was going to change again. And I didn't anticipate losing as many guys from our roster, as we did, but at the same time, it made sense. Guys were looking for opportunities to go have a more significant role and get on the field a little bit quicker. So this class is not quite as big, but still there is a considerable number of transfer guys that we did bring in.
With the elimination of the spring portal, does this mean this is it for newcomers, or are there scenarios where you add other guys?
Right. I think that there are a lot of guys that are still out there with the one window, and man, I don't know if flooded is the right word to use, but that's what it felt like. I mean, day one there was 4,500 guys on day one, and by the end of it there was 10,000 plus. And so I think, and in a 2-week window, you really don't have the time to be able to vet all those guys. So I imagine there's still some really, really good players that are out there that need homes. Really, it'll depend upon kind of how the roster, shakes out through the spring and leading up into the season. But for us, right now, we're rolling with what we got. We got pretty much everybody here, with the exception of 9 guys. We got 7 high school guys that are coming in the summer, and then we got two transfers that'll join us. But the bulk of our squad is here.
You guys managed to sign 2 quarterbacks out of the portal. That's not an easy thing to do, especially guys who have started in the past. How did the process work with both Bo and Eli, and how did you see it come together?
I think the credit goes to the staff all the way around, and then also those young men and their families and what they were looking for. And really it was transparency, because when we started, it's like, hey, we don't know what the situation is with Chandler. And if he's able to be reinstated, man, that's our guy. And so that's how we started, and we were very, very transparent, and we were patient. But then as we got towards the end of it, and we got a little bit of clarity of the direction that situation with Chandler was headed, we just kind of put our cards on the table, and it was what they were looking for. And I think having a chance to come in and visit and see it and feel it and understand the culture that we have established in our locker room sold the guys, and they're competitors, and they were looking for an opportunity to go compete, and they're going to bet on themselves, and they trusted that we were being transparent and truly have an opportunity to compete, and I think that's how it came about.
What specifically kind of intrigued you with both Bo and Eli? What's kind of their skill set you said that could really fit?
Yeah, the first thing is, man, they played football. They both started. They started last season as starters at the P4 level. They both have shown the ability to be successful. I think that when you look at Eli, obviously, man, came in at Pitt and tore it up for a little while, and has a big arm, can make all the throws. Was a guy that's he's also been in different programs, so kind of the DNA that he's bringing in the door. And then Bo, is a guy that's again he's had success when he's been in there. He probably runs, can use his legs a little bit more, but also can make all the throws. And so kind of a similar situation to what we lost when you look at what we had in Danny and what we had in Chandler.
During this transfer portal time, it seems like you guys attacked the trenches once again. Not retention, and also bringing some of those guys. How important was it to kind of first start off with that retention and add some of those pieces there?
Man, it was critical, retention, because it's not just a player that you're keeping in your program, but you're keeping your program in your program, so to speak, right? So now the guys that have really helped build the culture, like when you look at on the offensive line, you got Boley coming back, you got Josie coming back, you got Monroe, McKeelan. Man, we're hopeful that maybe we can get a couple other guys pending waivers to be able to come back. So you're keeping not just the talent, but you're keeping the culture in house, and so that was critical to make sure that all the guys that we could retain, that we were able to retain them, and then we really focused more on the defensive side of the ball in the trenches because that's where we had the biggest amount of natural attrition. You know, we lost some really good players that we couldn't get back because they were out of eligibility.
You mentioned waiting for Chandler in that situation to kind of develop. How do you work on recruiting the position when you're waiting on that waiver? Just
transparency. Like you just got to be transparent and tell them what the situation is, and then also same thing with Chandler and his camp. Just letting them know, like, hey, you know, at some point we do have to make sure that we protect the program and go recruit quarterbacks for the future. And you know, hated to see that Danny leave. You know, that was never the intent for Danny to leave. But we knew that we were going to have to protect the program and bring in, you know, at least one. And then when we did lose Danny and then Bjorn leaving, we knew that we were going to have to make sure that we protect the program and have guys at the position to compete.
You also have some attrition at wide receiver, bringing a couple new guys. How do you feel about that position where you are now?
Yeah, you know, I think that when you look at it, it made sense. The guys that transitioned on, you didn't want to see it, but it makes sense. And for me, as long as it makes sense, then I can live with it, right? But then once you find out what attrition you're going to have, then you got to go attack and replace. And so I feel like, you know, we got brought in 4, you know, really good players that are gonna help us. Don't know exactly what we have until we get them out there in our system and watch them run around in the schemes that we ask them. But I like so far watching them work and watching them run, you know, these last couple of days. You know, I like the skill set. Now we'll just have to see how it all comes together, and then also too, it creates great opportunity for the young guys that are in our program. And so all of our first years played last year for us, and we're excited about their potential. And then we were able to get Cam Courtney to stick around and come back. And so I like the group as a whole. Now losing Trail, I think Trail was the most established guy and was an all-conference player, but I'm excited about the opportunity for the other guys in the room.
A lot of your fans were really excited about Peyton Lewis. Can you give us some background on him and just what kind of running back is he?
Yeah, so Peyton was a guy, and I told him same thing with Hillman. Both of those Virginia guys coming back. The level at which they were being recruited and the caliber players that they are, when we first started recruiting them, back when we were just building the foundations of the program, we didn't have the things to make Virginia enticing for them to stay in state. So it made sense for them to leave. But now that we've been able to lay that foundation and build and the investment in the program, now it makes sense. So I'm excited about him. But he's a pro looking back right now when you look at him physically. I mean, he's a big guy. We know he's got documented track times. Played as a freshman in the SEC. I think he scored 7 touchdowns maybe last year. You know, in a backup role, battled some injury. So biggest thing is if he stays healthy, man, he'll have a chance to kind of look like an NFL style back in the backfield.
And you had obviously unprecedented success at the running game in a long time. Mm-hmm. You filled that room pretty well with some other guys. Just what style backs are these 3 guys? What separates
right?
them?
So when you look at the 3 that we brought in, I think they all complement each other very well. I think that you got some size. You got some speed, some elusiveness. So I think you were able to replace kind of what you lost last year, and then you still have X coming back. You got Noah coming back, so I think you got a ton of competition. But I think you now have some versatility and some flexibility, which allows you just to be more creative, on offense with those guys on the field, and with the depth, depending upon kind of where you are at other positions. Now you can even maybe explore some opportunities to have two backs on the field, which, from a depth standpoint, I don't know if we were in a position to be able to do that in the past. So I just think you have more opportunity, and that's the key. And then also too, it protects you for just for lack of a better way to say it, the brutality of the season at that position. Like it gets hard on those guys. So when you have multiple guys, you can disperse some of that workload, and then you help protect them. And you look at like last year, man, Jamari, down the stretch, man, you can start to see that it started to wear on his body a little bit, down the stretch when he's having to carry, the ball as many times as he did. And he didn't complain, and he showed up, and he played at a high level. But 200 plus carries, or around 200 carries, man, that's a lot for one guy. And now you have an opportunity to offload that a little bit.
In this era where you fill a lot of holes using the portal, do you change your message to the high school guys that come in the program, and also the young guys who are in the program, who maybe in the past they would look at the depth chart and say, I'm going to pay my dues for 2 years, and then my opportunity comes in year 3?
Yeah, great question. I think the messaging inside the program is, man, best players going to play. So it doesn't matter what your age level is. If you're the best player, you're gonna play. I think when you look at it from a high school perspective, you have to take in consideration how quickly can that young man get to the field. How quickly can you project him to get on the field, because they all want to play, right? And there's only so many snaps, and you want to have adequate depth. So you do look at that a little bit. So I think from just a messaging standpoint, when you're recruiting, I don't know if there's a different message. And internally, as best players are going to play, and we've also proven over the last several years that we're not afraid to play, first-year guys within our program. But I do think big picture for the high school recruiting, you do have to look a little bit at, okay, does he project to get on the field quickly? Or one of the consequences is if not, you may not be able to keep them around. As much as they want to be here, they want to play. So, and that's what you want in competitors. And it is a developmental sport. That's what makes it a little bit tougher. And I know I got the question or the comment about when you look at the like Indiana, their average age was 24. That's also different in college football. That's never really been the case. Like, it was designed to be like 18 to 22, right? And then they move on to the pros, and a 24-year-old in the pros used to be old. Now we're talking about 24-year-olds in college. So, you hope that, as we continue to have a couple more cycles, that age will come back a little bit, so that it is more conducive for the high school developmental guys to be able to have opportunities to get on the field quicker.
Coach, have you seen identities kind of forming from your team, and if so, what is it?
Yeah, that'll take place probably over the next about 6 weeks, and the reason I say that is because I had one team meeting and half my team wasn't here. It was crazy. That's the first time I've ever had a team meeting where I got a bunch of guys on Zoom, and literally some of them committed like the day before, and so they're back home in their respective areas on Zoom, and so now we'll be, and then as soon as we get done with the portal, so to speak, man, we're out on the road recruiting high school kids. So the coaches aren't here, but the returns so far is that the group of guys that have come in have been a good group of guys that are quickly assimilating to the way we do things here, and we'll be identifying more of our leadership teams over the next couple of weeks as we get to know these guys a little bit better. So true identity, I think, will start to happen as we get into our mat drills at the end of the month, and then we start spring practice. Now it's really just kind of everybody getting to know each other and getting an understanding of just the mode of operation that we have within the building and here on grounds. So the true identity, I think, will start to form once we, as coaches, are able to stress them a little bit when we get to mat drills.
And how do you kind of incorporate those guys that are, virtual or out? Like, how can you really try and get guys together as early as possible?
Yeah, great question. Like, it's stressful as a coach because, coaches, like, the way we're trained is to have a plan for a plan, and you're always planning, and you got a calendar, you got a schedule, and then it's like, okay, all of that is blown up with the way the calendar is right now, right? So you try to do the best you can just through as much communication as possible, and then trying to get them here as quickly as possible. And then even when you get them here, there's a several-day transition to get them fully processed through the system to be able to work out. So, man, we had guys that were here that couldn't work out, and so it's a challenge. But I think kudos to the staff with understanding what our culture is about, and the players as well, having just open arms and welcoming the guys into. And that just tells you that the guys that are on our roster that we retained, and they're enjoying their experience here because they're willing to say, hey, boys, y'all come on in. This is how we do things. Welcome to the family. Let's go to work.
In this transfer class, you have, I think, more than half of them have multiple years of eligibility left. Was that by design? And if so, why was that important?
I don't know if it was necessarily by design saying that, okay, if we sign 29, that 14 of them are going to have multiple years. I think that it's just a credit to, one, the university for their willingness to work with us, to be able to allow us to target some more undergrad guys. And then the staff having a better understanding of which undergrad guys have a shot to be able, because the big thing for me is one, I don't want to bring a young man to University of Virginia without a clear path to graduation, right? And obviously we know with the academic requirements, there's a little bit more that has to be done here to be able to graduate from UVA. So I think it's second time through, we have a better understanding. And then also, too, like you look at the guys that we were able to recruit in the past that have multiple years, that has a chance to impact your program and give you some continuity to help you establish and maintain culture. So I don't know if it was a design like saying we're going in that saying 50% of our class is going to be multi-year guys. It just kind of worked out that way, but I think there are some potential benefits to that, long term.
And then wanted to ask you about Brandon Hillman, safety from Michigan.
Yeah.
That's a quality addition. What was the key in recruiting him, and are you hoping he's a plug-and-play guy?
Yeah. So I think the key was, I wanted him bad out of high school. Him and Peyton both. But truth be told, at the time, it didn't make sense. This building wasn't built. We hadn't had the success on the field to prove what we were capable of as a staff. So, it made sense for those guys to look elsewhere. But I told them, I said, man, what I'm building is trying to build something to where you guys don't have to leave the state. So I think really the key was how we handled the recruiting on the front end when we recruited them out of high school, and they remembered that. And then for them to see the tangible things that we said we were building towards really, come to fruition, I think was key. And he was an all-conference, I think, honorable mention, guy in the Big Ten last year. And man, coming out of high school, he was a guy that I really, really wanted to stay in state, but just didn't have enough firepower, as I tell him. But now I got a little bit more firepower, and he can be a little bit closer to home. And I think he's got, just wanting to be closer to mom, and he's got a young daughter, and so I think it made sense this time around. Whereas for him and Peyton, the first time it probably didn't make sense.
And kind of following up on that, it felt like the safety room and just the secondary room, you lost more experience with Devin Neal, and Antonio Clary is not here this year. How do you feel that room kind of came together through the portal? Yeah,
I think when you just look at the sheer numbers, what is it? I think I had it written down. Where is it? I had a note that said, I think it's like, where is it? Yes, here it is. So with the DB room, you added 60 combined starts. Actually 130 combined starts when you do the corners and the safeties. 10,000 plus snaps, right? And then 5 of the 8 DB transfers have played over 1,000 career snaps. So just on paper, you feel like, okay, you're bringing in some experience. Now we got to get them adjusted to what we do schematically, but you feel much better about where we are this year as opposed to last year because all those guys are here for the most part. We got one guy in the secondary that's not coming until the summer, but the rest of those guys are here as opposed to last year. I think we signed 6 in the second portal window after spring ball. So you love the fact that the guys have played a lot of football, which hopefully helps with the transition, and then it's going to create competition, and then hopefully the depth that you need on the back end because we do play with basically 5 secondary guys on the field all the time.
And I know you touched on the running back room, but Solomon Beebe seems like a versatile playmaker, can help with the passing game and also in special teams. What kind of drew through to him?
I think that's what it was. It's just his versatility. He's a guy that is a back, but you could see his ability in the slot, right? So that gives you again some creativity, some flexibility, and so now if you go into some empty sets, right, you're not worried about having a back on the field, right? Because he can do all of the receiver stuff, and so that's really what drew us to him is his versatility and then his explosiveness. And you could see that not only can he impact the passing game, he can also be a return guy for you too, and help us in the return game. Because I think that's one area where I wouldn't say you overlook it, but Cam Ross leaving. I mean, we were I think tops in the country in kick return, and we improved on punt return. And so having those guys that have flexibility to be able to go impact the return game, and then when you have backs back there in the return game, it can change things.
I think between your high school class and your transfer class, over 40% are from the state of Virginia. Mm-hmm. How important is it that you've kind of used what you did last year and kind of built on in-state recruiting?
Huge. It's huge because from day one we said we want to be inside out. So that's just a way that we think from a program standpoint, and so it should be that way in recruiting as well. And I believe that Virginia has some of the best high school football in the country, some of the best talent in the country, and if we can start there and keep the young men home, I think that also helps us maintain just the culture and the pride within the program.
That you lost more guys to the portal than you had expected. With the benefit of hindsight, do you look back now and see some things you could have done, or is that going to be just the status quo going forward, that you're always going to lose some guys that you think are going to stick around?
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything more like, okay, another target here, another target there. I think you can go back and nitpick and say, yeah, well, we might have could have got 2 more targets for this guy, another target for that guy. But that's extremely hard to do when you're trying to win ball games, right? I think the challenge is going to be going forward because guys want to play, right? Guys want to play, and then there's also some influences outside the program that their voices, are becoming louder for the young people, not just at the University of Virginia, but just holistically. When you look at, I think in a 23-24 cycle, there was a total of 4,500 that went in. The 24-25, it was a total of 4,500, right? So that's 9,000 over 2 years. We had 10,000 in 1 year. We had 4,500 in 1 day, and so I think that there's not a whole lot you can do with that. That's more the external influence saying and encouraging guys to move on. So I think when I said I lost some, that's what I felt more like. It's like, okay, they found homes. And that's what I was grateful for, because that was the biggest concern with the guys that were leaving here, because they're my guys, right? These are guys that have put it on the line for the University of Virginia. We have relationships with them. You care about them. I was just worried about them getting lost in the shuffle and then finding a better situation, and that's to be determined. So I felt like I lost more guys, just wanting to explore what was out there, but not necessarily knowing, what was out there. And it's hard to know because, you're not going to know until you get in the portal. But I'd be interested to see. I think pretty much all of our guys found a spot, with the exception of maybe I'm not sure on 2.
Obviously, Bo didn't play in the bowl game, but I'm sure y'all watched a lot of tape in Missouri in the build up to that. Did you see anything in that tape, and just what do you think of the fit overall with him in this offense?
Yeah, I think with what you saw is first of a competitor. Man, the guy loves to compete. Man, he's tough as nails. You saw that he battled through some injuries. You saw leadership qualities on the field, and dynamic when he takes off and he runs, and then he can make all the throws. He could throw it from the pocket. He can throw it on the run. So that's what you saw. You saw a guy that looked, comfortable as a starter. Looked like a guy that his teammates would follow. So that's what you saw on tape.
And then you didn't bring in any linebackers. How do you feel about the depth? You get Marcellus to come back
Yes.
out of the portal, and then with Cam's injury, just how do you feel at linebacker right now? Kind of where is he?
Yeah, I think when you look at where we are at linebacker with Cam coming back, then you got Maddox coming back as well, and then you got Caleb Hardy who transitioned to the position, which gives you depth. Then you got Landon. Excuse me, sir. You got Landon that started in place of Cam, and then you got Miles Brown. You got the two young freshmen that we brought in. So you feel good about the position from a depth standpoint. Still got to work through some experience. I wouldn't say issues, but opportunities there, guys, to grow up on the field. But athletically, you feel really good about the position. And then you got the first year linebacker that's here now in Dallas. So athletically, you feel really good about the position. Just some experienced guys that or guys just got to gain experience, but got to play them for that to happen.
Just wanted to ask you about retaining Jamal Edgerrin.
Yeah.
What's his ceiling, and how critical was it for you guys to get him back to have a returning starter at receiver?
Yeah, I think his ceiling is he can be an NFL guy. Right? I think he can play on the next level. I think he's got the ability to be an all-conference caliber player. Now, I think last year he had a huge challenge because he was a guy that came in that really had to push it in the classroom because he had a path to graduation, but it was like, okay, it's like there's a lot of work that has to be done. He had to hit a certain amount of hours in that first spring and summer to be eligible, which he did. But that also took a lot of his time. I think now he's in a situation where he's got a little bit more balance. He's on track to graduate. Okay, but he doesn't have to hump it like he did last spring. So we can really focus on some of the developmental aspects. He's a guy that loves to train. He's also one of those guys that'll overtrain. So we kind of got to get that. He loves it so much so we got to make sure he doesn't get too big. Right, so there's some things that we can help him with that I think we're in a position to do right now. But I think his ceiling is he can be an all-conference caliber player and a pro prospect.